Hello. It's me again, Louise. I've just got to press a few buttons to make sure that we are live in all the places. And it's not working here. Why are you not working? Okay, go live. That's okay. If you are with me at the moment, thank you so much for hanging around while I work out what is happening at my end, because for some reason it doesn't seem to be working. No, my streaming key is in. That's all good. So I guess I am live there. Let's have a look. I know this can be a pain sometimes. I wish this wasn't part of the process, but it is, unfortunately. No, that's all right. It's not working in that spot, but let's have a look if you're working on Facebook. If you are on Facebook, please let me know you are there. I'm just going to check the sound to make sure it's working. Yep, it is. Okay, so now I've also got your comments up if you want to say hello. So, hello. If you don't know who I am, my name is Louise O'Reilly. I'm an inclusion, diversity, equity, and allyship coach for online service-based business owners. So if you are one of them, I invite you very, very warmly to follow along with this live, because I have got a audience growth framework that you may want to consider. Now, the subject of this live is, let me pop it up on the screen, email lists, oppression and ethics, why I had to create the growth method. And yes, I did have to create my own growth method because I saw there was such a lack of different elements, inclusive elements, and also it was a lot of frameworks that did support an oppressive system. It does support discrimination. It does support the patriarchy, the privilege system, racism, all those kinds of things. So I saw this happening in my many, many years of being a business owner, and no kind of growth strategy sat well with me. Some parts of them sat well, but not all of them. And the more and more I talk to other business owners, the more I realize and recognize there is a whole community of socially conscious business owners who are really uncomfortable with the kind of audience growth strategies and email growth strategies that are out there, because they seem icky, they are non-consensual, they are manipulative, there is performative actions kind of happening, or performative posts and words and things. So I see you, I absolutely see you, and this is one of those reasons why I needed to create the growth method. But as always, before I get into all the juicy stuff of it, I am going to give an acknowledgement of country. And if you're watching along, I would like to say to you, please feel free to pop in the comments your own acknowledgement or the lands of the Aboriginal community, the language group, the country that you are on at the moment, when you're joining me from, because I would just love to know how we are connected and where you're joining me from. So, I, Louise O'Reilly of the Warawa and Noongar people, would like to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional and ongoing custodians of the lands and waters in which I join you from. I am amazed and grateful at the custodial role you play here, that you have fulfilled, you always will fulfill. I also would like to pay my respects to the elders, thank them for their love, their guidance, their community leadership, and everything they do. You are amazing, and I am so grateful and very blessed to be able to be in your presence, learn from your amazing wisdom, and be held and guided by you. Beautiful. Okay, so let's get into the actual the content of this live, shall we? So, as I mentioned before, there was a problem that I saw with traditional list building. And it is something that has really made me feel unsettled. And if you're a business owner and you're watching this, and there is a lot of kind of either just audience growth strategies or email list growth strategies that you have felt just don't sit well with you, they don't align with you, they feel icky, or you just have a complete repulsion to even subscribing to the idea of having some kind of growth strategy for your business, as I said before, I warmly invite you to have a listen to this framework that I have created, because potentially you may enjoy a growth strategy and it may be very beneficial for you, but the thing is, it wasn't built the way they are, traditional ways. They weren't built with you in mind. They weren't built with socially conscious business owners in mind. They weren't built in a way that actually supports marginalised people or in a way that doesn't manipulate. So this is a new way of doing it. So the first problem that came about was this industry norm, right? So you have this industry norm, which is basically like a hustle culture, which says grow at all costs. Grow your email lists, grow your Instagram followers, grow your Facebook followers, grow your community sizes, grow at all costs. And there is a big focus on the number of subscribers, or the number of followers, rather than really looking at, okay, well, am I able to support those followers? Are we matched in our value system? Do they actually need what I have to offer? None of these growth strategies actually looked at the person or the subscribers as actual people. They look at them as numbers, as bits of data and indicators of, popularity, as indicators of influence. However, because in this day and age, attention is what's the word? Attention is currency. Attention is currency. So this whole grow at all costs thing really doesn't sit well with a lot of us. A lot of us who are very value-led, who are socially conscious, who recognize there is privilege and there is oppression, there is marginalization that's happening, and recognize that there are systems at play in every aspect of life and business that are working to make sure that those systems of oppression continue on. And a lot of the growth strategies that are out there are ones that support those systems of oppression. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second because I just looked down and I got a message come through and I read it. So that is a big problem, having that kind of concept around growth. So if you're a business owner who is not concerned necessarily about the numbers, you do want to grow your audience, but not because you want to grow the number, but because you want to increase your impact, your positive impact in the world and positive impact in people's lives, then please keep watching. Okay, so another problem with the traditional list building is the harm that it actually causes. So it is a lot of the time rooted in extraction. So again, it considers people as numbers and not humans. There are things around consent. There is really unethical ways of doing list building, which I have witnessed with my own eyes, which people have made me be subject to without my consent. And it basically is getting people to come into your following, come into your email list without giving them all the information, without them even consenting or say, yes, I want to participate in that. Yes, I want to be part of that. And it is around like this idea of trickery And so I saw that, I recognized that I've been part of it, and it's awful. It feels really ick. It really, really feels quite gross. And then there is this aspect of safety as well. So as marginalised people, marginalised communities, as business owners, we do also have to consider those marginalised communities. Are our businesses built in a way that can support them, their needs, their wants, their desires, and the solutions, deliver the solutions they need to get to that outcome that they want? Is it safe for them to be in those spaces? Not only safe just within our business space or the services that we deliver, but also in our community space. Is it safe for them to be in there? And quite often that safety is really, really ignored. It's not considered at all. However, those traditional list building are looking to diversity and going, well, we want diverse numbers in our programs. We want diverse communities in our follower numbers. We want them on our email list, but not ever considering whether that is actually a safe place for marginalised people to exist in. So it's often quite ignored. Then there is also this, it's like an exploit where it's based around urgency, FOMO. There's a lot of manipulation that happens. So it is like this fake urgency where it is absolutely fabricated. And I'm sure you might have seen this along the ways where you've seen someone go, oh, quick, you better jump onto this special deal. It runs out, blah, blah, blah. Or you better jump onto this webinar. It's not going to run again. Or it's, you know, or it's just creating that kind of time urgency. You need to do it. You need to do it now. And a lot of these growth strategies are based around creating this urgency. Now, I'm not saying urgency is not something that is utilized to help buyers make decisions. It is, but there is a real urgency and there are fake urgencies. And we want to stay away from those fake urgencies that really exploit those people and make them feel it dysregulates their nervous system just to purchase something or subscribe or follow when there is no real urgency with them having to do that. And you can see this time and time again where you've signed up for something and they said, this is the last, it's not going to be done again, there's no more after this, or you're going to miss out on this live thing. And it's not live at all, it's pre-recorded, and it shows through, it cycles through over and over again, and you have to be there, and all these kind of weird manipulations that people do to make you stay the whole way. And in terms of manipulation, there's also things like, if you leave the webinar at any stage, you have to watch from the start again. There is no options for speeding through it, saying things that are live that are not actually live. What else is there? That fake urgency. So all of that kind of stuff is prevalent in the online business space. And especially if you are someone newer to the online business world, you may be romanticized by these amazing strategies and be like, wow, these people achieved all these different things, which in all honesty are probably not true or real. They're not probably giving you the full context of the story. That's part of that manipulation cycle, that they're telling you things that probably aren't true or taken out of context to make you believe this strategy is the one best strategy. And that's a tip for you. If you've ever heard, this is the strategy, there's no other strategy, this is the best, it's a good sign to go, no, I'm out of here. What it also does, it ignores and harms marginalized people. So in a lot of these spaces, it doesn't recognize the nuances with marginalized people, with marginalized people's problems or contexts. It doesn't consider the lived experiences of marginalized people and expects marginalized people to either, one, as a business owner, do this strategy in a particular way, which actually is inappropriate for them contextually in their lives or within their culture to do things in those particular ways. So there's a lack of consideration in that. There is also a lack of management around discrimination, racism, sexism, ableism, all those kinds of isms that discriminate against marginalised people within those communities. So even if it's a business moving into a business community, there is a lack of guidelines, there is a lack of rules, there is a lack of consequences of when people are discriminated against in those spaces. Then on the flip side, you have people who are from marginalised communities coming in as clients into your business. There is a lack of consideration of what safety measures need to be done for those particular groups of people and communities. And then you have this one last thing, which is like the inclusivity band-aid-ish kind of thing, where it's like very tokenistic expressions of inclusion. And so it might be things like using diverse stock photos without any inclusive action happening in the business, on the business, in the programs and things like that. It is doing like shout outs and saying this is for, you know, this is for women and non-binary folk. Yet there is nothing, there's no evidence that that business is a safe space for non-binary people or women to be in that space. So it's really, really a good idea to be aware of some of these harmful things that can happen, which is these are part of the problem, and these are part of the things that I saw, and I thought we can't continue on this way. So I do want to ask you this question if you are watching along with me. Let me just save that. This question to you is what I want to ask. So have you ever felt gross, pressured, or inauthentic when trying to grow your audience? If you could let me know, you know, what you have experienced, I would really, really love to have a chat with you. And just potentially, I want you to know that you're not alone with that, that yes, I see that, yes, I probably have experienced that or witnessed it in some way, and there are much better ways that we can handle these kinds of things. Okay, so we're going to move on to why I actually created the growth method. So obviously part of that reason is because of all those problems that were coming up in the online service-based business platform landscape. So they are some of the reasons, and they are actually a really big reason, because my number one thing that I always want to make sure is when I'm working with business owners, there is priority one is making safety of marginalized people the priority. That's priority one. So that is a big part of why this had to come about. What I found was there was no roadmap, essentially. There was no roadmap to things like inclusive or values aligned strategies that grow audiences, that grow email lists. There was just nothing. There is no mention of inclusivity. There is no consideration of marginalized communities. There is no mention of the difference or the nuances in lived experiences that different marginalized communities have, and definitely no consideration about the solution to those marginalized people's problems, because often those solutions look different to people who don't belong to those marginalized communities. So it was just completely lacking. I don't think I have ever come across a growth strategy that had inclusion embedded in its framework. And also there was another part of it. The values alignment was missing. The values itself was missing. So a lot of people would jump on and be like, oh, come and join this thing, or accept this lead magnet, or let's solve this problem together. But what they never expressed to me, or they did poorly of doing, was expressing what their values were. So here's the thing, we're becoming more and more conscious with the business that we interact with. We're becoming more and more conscious with who we engage with, how we engage with them, and more conscious of how we are purchasing and spending our money, because we want to know that our money, our attention, our time and energy is going to be focused on a person who shares the same kind of values as us. And values like, you know, just general worldview values, our values that kind of align with our own businesses. You know, we want to be creating, for instance, maybe some of us want to be creating more freedom amongst our clients. Sometimes it might be more joy or more fun or more creativity or more peace. Or for me, it's about liberation from the systems and creating something new, something that hasn't been done before, but in a way that is completely inclusive, accepting and loving. So it's a new creation. So I want to know, what are the values? What are your values? Because if you're not able to express your values to me, the chances of me working with you are down. They're probably not going to happen at all. However, if there are businesses that do very proudly and openly share what their values are, I might see them and I might go, yeah, I like those values, but that's not really my thing at the moment. That's not the direction I'm going, or that's not where my business is focused. Then it gives a better ability for us to make decisions as business owners on whether we're going to be interacting with that other business, or as clients, whether we're going to be interacting with those kinds of businesses. So being really clear on values is something that was missing, and potentially that meant a lot of amazing business owners are missing out on clients. They're missing out on collaborations. They're missing out on partnerships. They're missing out on awards, all kinds of things, if you're not also making sure values are included in it. So values was another thing that really was missing from it. And then the one thing that I already mentioned before, which made me think this new way of doing audience growth needs to be consent-based as well. I'm sure you have felt the feeling before when you have been added to an email list without your permission. You've been added to some kind of funnel without your permission, or you've signed up for something, but there was no disclaimer to say that you would be added to another thing post that thing you've signed up for. So it's making sure that it's really consent-based, that the client has all the information, very clearly know what they're going to be participating in, what they're signing up to. So just something as simple as, and if you sign up to this, you'll be added to my email list, my general email list. You'll get, a newsletter once a week or once a fortnight or once a month, whatever it is. Or if you sign up to this, there will be a series of so many emails to help support you through the unpacking of this, or to help you with tips about completing it. So just having that upfront, transparent information so that people and clients can make informed decisions. And so it is consent-based. It is them leading the way. They are in charge, and making sure they know that that is all in their hands, that they are able to control that. And then the last thing really is, again, just emphasizing that there was no guidelines or there was no kind of anti-oppression strategies that were out there. They quite often just looked at those numbers. They didn't look at the humans that were involved. Who are those numbers? They didn't consider them as humans. And they were done in ways that either further oppressed people. So they would use really like ableist kind of language, or sexist or genderism in their language. It would be very exclusionary. Also, it could, things like elitism are really prevalent in a lot of list growth strategies. Make it so it seems so exclusive, so you have to be really special to belong into it. And a lot of the time with that elitism is money. Money is very closely linked in with elitism and classism. So those kinds of things were showing up. So that's part of the reason why I created the growth framework. So if you're still with me, congratulations, you're amazing. I've done a lot of talking so far, but what we are going to do now is we're going to go through the breakdown of the growth framework. So there are 6 parts to this framework, and I will go through each one with you after I have a quick sip and just check that there are no comments coming through so far. Let me just check in here. No, we are all good. Okay, so we're going to go through, and it's each of the letters, so it's an acronym. So we're going to go through G first. So G is the groundwork. And basically, this is where you start looking on the inside, inward in your business. It looks at your business ecosystems. This is something that you can apply to yourself. You can just start looking. It's more like an introspection. So if you're in like the healing industry, or you're in the spirituality sector, or you work with intuition, things like that, you would probably understand that kind of language. So you're going to be doing some kind of introspection into your business, looking within your business, to look at how it all operates, how it all works. You're going to look at things like the accessibility of your business. So if marginalised people can access your business. So it could be things like, in the disability community, are you making sure that your business, whatever you're putting out in the world, can cater for different types of disability? Is it something in terms of finances? How can you make it more financially accessible for people? In terms of education or language barriers, are you making sure that you are taking care of those kinds of things? Also, you're looking at just being inclusive in general, so using inclusive language and making sure that the services that you provide are not cookie cutter, but they are able to be adjusted or customized based on the different community member, so whatever type of marginalization that they have, looking at those kinds of things. It's looking at things like your policies and whether you have any kind of practices you have, your customer journey, and a lot of the time your growth foundations, your strategy for actually growing, what does that actually look like? And then we go into R, which is around reframing. So who is it that you really want to reach with your business, with your services? Who are the people you really want to help? Who are those most aligned people who are perfect, are the dream clients for you, the people that you are here to help, your services are here to help? And why is that the case? Is it just because you want to be doing that thing, or is it because you can see the struggle that people are facing with a certain problem and you know there's a better solution to it? Really looking at why you want those people in there. And if you are looking at making sure your business is accessible and inclusive of marginalized communities, you also have to ask yourself, why do you want them in that space? Is there a reason you want them in that space? Is it because you want to be inclusive? Is it because you want to be supporting them, their communities and things like that? Or is it more like it might make my business look bad if I am have everyone that just looks like me, so I want to have a bit of diversity in there. If that's the case, please don't do that. Secondly, you might want to consider this framework. Okay, so this is the reframing place is where we look at your niche essentially. And we look at, I've got a niching framework, whole niching system, a complete niching system, which is the inclusive niching system. If you do work with me, that's what we go through. But for now, just you can have a look at your niche. Go beyond the demographics. So many list growth strategies will really push, okay, do your niche, but it's not about age and location and how much they're earning, and all that demographic kind of stuff is really, really surface kind of stuff, and it doesn't necessarily help you that much in your business if you are wanting more customers to come in, more clients to come into you, because just because you're in the location, just because you're the age and the sex, doesn't necessarily mean you have the problem and that you have the solution to that. It doesn't make sense at all. It rather looks at lived experiences. It looks at the values that you share with those people, or the values or the outcomes that those people want to actually have. It's looking at, okay, what are some of those barriers? And then how can we either, one, remove those barriers completely, Or two, how can we reduce them to make it more accessible to those marginalised communities? So that's what reframing does. And reframing really helps you to look at your niche in a different way, in a way that considers, okay, what if my niche was the most marginalised person? What would my business need to do or be or deliver in order to make sure that that person has the same level of service and reaches the outcome that they desire at the end of working with us? Then we move over to O for outreach. This is when you can start to consider relationship building with different groups or business owners or organizations. And it is without the tokenism. So it is looking at, okay, how can we create real, genuine relationships with this other body, this other person, this other business owner? How can we have a real, genuine conversation, connection, and relationship with those people? How can I benefit them, and how and what is it that I want to be involved with or connected to, and why am I connecting with them? So you might be connecting with them because you might want to connect into their audience or their networks and link in with their networks through them. That is certainly a way you can do it. But is it because you just want to access their networks, or are you actually going to make sure you're providing so much value and support along the way and actually building and growing real relationships? So business relationships are similar to friendships. They have to be real. They have to be genuine, because they feel icky and gross. It feels really extractive if it's not that way. So making sure that outreach is formed in, what would it be formed in? A real grounded care, friendship, partnership. Yeah, it's about real engagement, and it's not about performative reaches and things like that. Okay, the next one is W for witnessing. So this is when you get to show up in a way that really reflects your values. Think about your values, and I want you to consider having 3 values that you kind of move around. You can change them if they no longer feel relevant after some time, but just pick 3 for now and look at, okay, if I have these 3 values, how can I make sure I show up in my business in these ways that reflect these values? So is it, leadership might be a value, knowledge might be a value, or teaching might be a value, and peace might be a value, for instance. So it's like, well, in terms of leadership, am I being a leader myself? And being a leader sometimes means you are breaking the mold. You're not doing things the way they're done, or you are recognizing and calling out things that are no longer good or okay in your industry. That can show that you're a leader. Being a thought leader in that aspect. Are you sharing knowledge? Are you sharing that wisdom that you have? Are you being generous with those things? And then peace as your last one. You can always talk about, well, how do we get to this outcome of peace? If peace is the goal, what are some of the things that we can do to get to that? And so this is a way that witnessing can really help you communicate your values to your potential clients, customers, and help grow your lists, grow your audience. Because if we can see and witness your values and you show them, you don't just say them, you don't just put them in your copy, you actually show them, that can encourage so many more people to come to your business, to sign up for your freebie, to sign up for your lead magnets, to sign up to your email list, become a follower, all those kinds of things. It is a visibility with integrity. That's basically what the core of it is. It's not performative. It is just, this is who I am. These are my values. If these are your values too, we're probably going to be a good match together, or I'm probably going to be able to be a great business friend or have a good business relationship with. Then we move over to T for trust. So trust is huge. You know, a lot of business owners, you've probably heard around the way talk about, you know, build the know, like, trust factor. So this is that trust part of it. And it really is messaging that builds that safety, that makes people know that it's not just about the sales, that you actually care about them as a person, you care about the outcomes that they have, and you care about them being safe in your business spaces. So it's creating those messages to communicate in a way that says, I know you, I know what you're going through, I understand what you're going through. Here is a space that's going to be safe for you to explore that, or to unpack that, or to have a transformation around. People need the trust. If they don't have that trust aspect, they don't receive that trust aspect from you and know fully that you're a space that is trustworthy of them being part of, participating and engaging in, it's not going to help you, your audience growth, your list growth at all. And it really does need to be based in that consent as well, because we want to be honoring that they are going to trust you. You want to honor that it really is a gift, that they are trusting you. And especially if they're coming into your space, they're choosing to be there with consent, choosing to be there, they're participating, they're engaging. So making sure that trust is kept and maintained. And the last one is H for habits. So this is where you look at like the long-term impacts of your business, your solutions. You're looking at your customer journey from start to end, when you're hopefully going to be offboarding them because they don't require your services anymore. You've helped them reach the solution. And so you can say, I'm so proud of you. You did it. Well done. You no longer need my help and my support. At the end of the day, as service-based business owners, that should be our goal. We should be trying to work ourselves out of a job where no one needs this support anymore. It's just normal. Everyone has that solution already done. So making sure that habit of that customer journey is complete and supported through that, making sure there's no hustle through it, that people feel genuinely supported by it, as in your services, it is your services, through that whole process. And making sure you've got sustainable practices that actually work with you as well, because we are individuals as well. And not every business growth strategy works for us. It might not work for our time schedule. It might not work for our capacity to work. It might not work in so many different ways. So making sure when we're doing that H part of it, we're creating or building or adjusting a business strategy or a business process that is actually aligned with us as a business owner, individual, based on our own nuances, based on our requirements, our needs, our capacity. So it's really great to consider that in the framework of building audiences, because what can happen too is when you are so focused on growing your audience, you can have this strategy in place and you are pumping it out and you're doing all the things. And when you get to the end of that particular, just say, call it a launch, for instance, a launch to grow your email list, you are totally burnt out. Then how long does it take for you to get back on and make sure that everything is okay? At what point are you ready to get back into business? Are you ready to support those followers? Are you ready to show up whenever you need to show up? When you're burnt out like that, you can't deliver on those things. So we want to make sure we are able to still deliver and still nurture our audiences in whether it's on our email list or whether it is in our social media following. We still want to be able to make sure we're showing up and supporting them and nurturing them, our communities. So that is the growth. Let me go here. That is the full growth breakdown, framework breakdown. It is a framework that I have created. if you want to implement this framework, you can implement this framework. You can just go through each of those things I've just broken down and just consider those aspects of the framework in the context of your own business. So let me just add that one in there. So basically, who is this framework for and who is it not for? So as I've mentioned at the start of this live, it is for those socially conscious business owners, those people who recognize that there are very unethical ways that business growth strategies, that email list growth strategies are used or done or delivered that are very questionable in terms of whether they are ethical to do or not ethical to do. Now, just because there are no laws or rules around these things don't mean they are not unethical. So it's really great for you to have discernment around whichever strategies you're doing. And if it feels a bit off, just feel into that a little bit more, do a little bit more research into why that feels off. And so research can mean go within and find out what it is about it that you don't like. It might be that it feels like it's manipulating people in different ways. It might be that it's creating like that fake scarcity or fake urgency. It may be because they're using stock images, and you know that that business does not have any clients that are from those marginalised communities. So, sorry, stock images that have diverse communities or marginalised communities presented. So it's like a facade. This is what our business is. This is what our business does. But on the inside, you know that there is no supports for those communities in that business. Has been no consideration of those communities on the inside of that business. So it might be something like that. What else did I just think of? It's not consent based. And I did think of another one, but it slipped my mind. When you can see it's only about numbers, it's not about humans. So all those kinds of things can really make it feel off. If you're one of those people who are like, yeah, that feels off, or you can see that there are systems of oppression or there's types of discrimination that is happening in the copy, in the visuals, in the business, in the structure of how the solution is, then this is probably for you, because this is one that really is rooted in inclusion. It's rooted in consent, non-manipulative strategies. It's rooted in real, genuine connection. It is trauma-informed. It is one that is anti-oppression. So if you have not wanted to be involved in any kind of strategies to grow your list or grow your audience because of any of those reasons, this is probably a really great framework for you to use. And you can absolutely use it. If you want to go into the depths of each of those, I do have a program for it. But in the meantime, if you want to get a little bit of a taste of what this can look like, I do have a webinar coming up. It's going to be free, and it's how to attract aligned clients to your email list. So you basically get aligned clients and not just subscribers. Although it is nice to have lots of people to talk to, at the end of the day, as business owners, we want to be spending our time and energy actually supporting the people we're here to support with our solutions that we have for them, with our magic that we have for them. So if you would like to sign up to that free webinar that I'm going to be hosting, I will pop the link into the comments or into the description after I finish this live. And if you have any questions at all about any of this, please let me know. I would love to answer them. This, like I said, that webinar is going to help you just get a bit of a taste of what it's like to work with this kind of framework. What I will also be doing in that webinar is giving you 3 different ethical and inclusive growth strategies that you can use. So you can choose any of those 3 strategies and implement them straight away. So regardless if you go on, yes, I will be talking about my program, the Growth one-on-one program at the end of it. But even if you don't go through and work with me in that program, you will get so much benefit from attending this free workshop. And also, if you attend live, I will also give you a free 30-minute one-to-one session as well. And in that one-to-one session, we are going to go through your list growth strategy, and we're going to pinpoint where there may be some gaps or where there needs some adjustments. So at the end of it, you will know, regardless, if you attend live, you will know where the gaps are in your strategy and where there can be some adjustments or improvements. And if you choose to work with me further on from there, that would just be an absolute bonus. But that's all for today. It has gone quite a long time, and I thank you so much. If you're still hanging around, sending you lots of love, and happy, ethical, and inclusive business audience list growing.